Hello there. In this video, I'm going to have a problem-solving session with a past paper. The paper is CIE Economics Paper 3 from May June 23 exam. Let's give it a go. Question number 1. What does the marginal utility diagram show? We've got marginal utility diagram. However, the options are asking us to find out what happens to the total utility. So let me first draw total utility curve on the diagram, like this. Yeah, it looks like this, and then we already know that when marginal utility hits the 0, the total utility is at the maximum. So according to the logic, we can find the answer as C. Question number 2. The initial allocation of goods between 3 consumers is shown. Which row shows a Pareto improvement in the allocation of goods between consumers? Having Pareto improvement refers to the fact that one's change in consumption utility doesn't affect other people's consumption utility, like decreasing others. No, that's not Pareto improvement. So if we understood correctly, then the answer has to be A. Since compared to the previous option, previous consumption scenario, when consumer 3 is increasing its consumption from 10 to 11, consumer 1 and 2's consumption utility haven't been affected at all. So that's why A shows the Pareto improvement. But the rest of things are somehow decreasing the other consumer's consumption due to the change happened to one consumer's consumption. So that's why. Question 3. Which assumption in relation to an indifference theory diagram is not correct? Indifference theory can be understood both by income and alternative effect. And yes, it assumes that consumers' income may change so that they are willing to find cheaper products. So A is correct. B, the consumer may change their satisfaction maximizing objective. That's definitely not true, since we assume that economic individual always wishes to maximize their utility. So I guess that's the answer. Question 4, which type of efficiency is shown by the shift from long-run average cost curve 1 to 2? We can see that the cost is decreasing. So it can be explained with dynamic efficiency that is available to monopolies, big firms with the logic of economies of scale. For allocative efficiency, we should know like marginal cost curve and marginal revenue curves or things like that, but we don't know that. Pareto, we've just checked the Pareto scenario, so not this case. Productive, we should have like AR curve, ATC curve together, but we don't have that, so that's why B has to be the answer. Question 5. A firm wishes to maximize its revenue. Which condition must be met to achieve this goal? Revenue maximizing goal is found from the place where marginal revenue hits 0. So the simple answer, B. Question 6. The costs and revenue of 4 firms operating in a monopolistically competitive market are shown. Which firms will continue to operate in the short run, but will shut down in the long run? All right, to let them operate only in the short run, but shut down in the long run, there are 2 conditions needed. First, the firm has to currently make a loss, which means the total revenue of the firm should be lower than total cost to spending. Second, the firm's current price has to be either bigger or equal to its average variable cost. If I check the table given, I've got total variable cost and total revenue, and I don't know the quantity available, so I have to calculate average variable cost and average revenue so that I can compare the price and average variable. So let me just randomly pick a quantity which I can apply to every firm. So I have just decided to use random quantity variable as 10 to every firms and calculate average variable cost and the rest of the other details. So let me work on it. Right. After finish calculating all the average values, let me check each firm. So for the first firm, W, the total revenue 15, total cost 20 plus 10, 30, so it is making a loss. For the second condition, its average variable cost is 2, but the market price is 1.5. So actually it doesn't satisfy the second condition, so no. The firm X, its total cost is 90 and total revenue 80, so it is making a loss. And for the second condition, its average variable cost is 4 and market price 8, which is bigger. So yes, it satisfies both conditions. Why? Total cost 600, total revenue 500. So yes, it makes a loss. For the average variable cost 30, market price 50, so price is bigger, so yes, it satisfies the second condition either. For the last firm, total cost 600 plus 100, 700, and total revenue 550, so it is making a loss. And for the price and average variable cost comparison, its average variable cost is 60, and its market price is 55. So, the thing is, it doesn't satisfy the second condition, so it can't continue. So it can't operate even in the short run. It has to immediately shut down. So that's why only the firms X and Y can operate in the short run, but will shut down in the long run. Question 7. A firm at its current level of production finds that its short-run marginal cost is less than its short-run average variable cost. Which conclusion about the firm can be drawn from this information? Marginal cost is the type of the cost that you spend to produce your current output level. And if it is lower than your overall variable cost, it means anytime soon your average cost also is going to decrease. So the answer has to be B. Question 8. Steel producer X takes over its main competitor, steel producer Y. What would X expect to happen to the price elasticity of demand for its product and its long-run average cost as a result of this takeover? Obviously, to the consumers, they have less substitutes remaining. Obviously, to the consumers, they have less substitutes available, so they have to be more loyal to the company X. So the PED will decrease. And the firm has occupied bigger production capacity due to the takeover. So its long-run average cost curve will decrease, as we know from the concept of dynamic efficiency and the theory of economies of scale. That's why the answer is A. Question 9. What is an example of an external cost? External cost occurs not from your own production process, but from some uncontrollable outside issues. So the only resonating option is the congestion cost, since they are from social situations. Question 10. The diagram shows the demand for and supply of a good and the marginal social cost for that good. Assuming there are no external benefits, which area measures the net social benefit at output OQ? Yes, if there was no overproduction of the certain good, then the market could have enjoyed the social benefits. So the original social benefit that could have achieved is X, obviously, because that's the ideal equilibrium. However, it is not achieved due to the external cost, so we have to minus the welfare loss of it. So to find the net social benefit, I need to minus the deadweight loss, which is Y. So the answer has to be B. Question 11. What would definitely result from the divorce of ownership and control? When there is divorce of ownership and control, then there are divided control towers, which can create some noises or disharmonies, which is defined as the principal-agent problem. Your firm has no one clear direction that comes from primary principle, so it makes firms to like being in unstable situation. That's why the answer has to be B. Question 12. One reason for market failure is the existence of public goods. Which policy option is appropriate for addressing such a market failure? The problem with public goods is that there is always under allocation of the public goods. So the policy that can correct the situation is the government provision. Yes. Question 13. In 2020, the governor of California issued an order to ban the sale of new vehicles from 2035 that are powered by petrol or diesel fuel. What type of government policy is this? It's pretty straightforward. It's regulation. Question 14. The diagram illustrates a monopsony labor market in which the government has imposed a minimum wage. What is the difference between the wage the monopsonist wishes to pay and the wage received by labor? If you are monopsony, then you always want to hire less and pay less according to your profit maximizing rule. So your profit maximizing rule will be decided where MCL meets MRP. So this is the quantity and this is the wage. However, legally, you have to pay minimum wage, which is W2. So that's the gap. Economics textbooks states that labor is a derived demand for a firm in imperfect competition. How is the demand curve for labor derived? Derived demand means labor demand doesn't occur itself. It has to come from the product demand that the laborers can produce. So how do you calculate the demand? So you calculate the labor demand, then it's the value of physical product that the workers produce, multiplied by the revenue that firms can earn. So if that is getting bigger, then the firms would demand more workers. (16) The diagram shows the Lorenz curves for Norway and India. What can be concluded from a comparison of the Lorenz curve? It's just quite straightforward, isn't it? The size of Lorenz curve getting bigger means the country gets less economically equal. So what can be concluded from a comparison of the two curves is that Norway is economically more equal. So that's why the answer is C. Question 17. A reason for government intervention in the workings of the economy is to attempt to correct a market failure. Sometimes, though, government failure may occur. What is not a possible reason for government failure? A, definitely government can make some make mistakes of using out-of-date information, which is a failure. B is not a failure. C is a failure because it's creating some administrative difficulty of judging what to do, what not to do. D, this is another problem of time lag. So which is what is not is B. Question 18. A government wishes to support growth in the economy's fishing industry. Which policy is likely to achieve sustainable growth in the fishing industry? Sustainable growth is the keyword in discussion. You have to promote the industry. However, at the same time, you want to do it eco-friendly. So if I check the options, A is going to make the fishing to be too excessive, so it's not very sustainable. B, the same. It's going to make the fishing unsustainable. C, again, the same thing. You're going to make the fishing too lucrative to make it unsustainable. So yeah, answer is D. Question 19. 4 citizens have each been unemployed for the past 6 months. Which citizen would not be characterized as being structurally unemployed? Structural unemployment occurs due to the labor demand disappears in a certain industry, maybe because the skill is no longer needed due to the outdated issue, or the job is simply relocated, blah, blah, blah. So for A, it's happening due to the relocation, yes. And B, again, it's the demand is gone. C, it's the immobility issue. Yes, again, it is the example of structural unemployment. But D is the only option that I can choose because it is the example of the frictional unemployment. Question 20, in the diagram, OP is the equilibrium level of income, and OQ is the full employment level of income in a closed economy. Closed economy, yeah. And what is the deflationary gap? You are in here, but then you like to achieve the full employment level. So obviously your gap has to be this much, which is this. Question 21. What is the most effective policy a government could introduce to reduce frictional unemployment? Frictional unemployment occurs when you are trying to switch the job to find the most well-fitting job position you want to find. So you're being temporarily unemployed. So to decrease such type of unemployment, you have to make them to find a job quicker. So I guess that's why B is the best answer. Question 22, in a closed economy with no government sector, when will an increase in investment spending generate the largest increase in equilibrium national income? Let's assume that there's no G and net export, that you only have C and I. And I is first initiating spending, then it's going to boost the rest of the individuals, which is explained with the theory of the multiplier effect. Then when will be the case that the multiplier effect create the biggest impact? You know, we've learned the concept by using the marginal propensity to consume. So when it gets bigger, then the multiplier effect would get bigger as well. So that's why C is the answer. Question 23, which combination of policies is most likely to increase output? You want to increase output. When it comes to fiscal policy, you have to increase spending or decrease taxation, which is going to make the budget deficit bigger. So I can find my answer from either C or D. And then when it comes to monetary policy, I have to decrease interest rate so that more people borrow money and spend more, etc. So C. Question 24. A country is a net importer of oil. World oil prices have risen over the year. Assuming that all other factors remain the same, how is this likely to affect inflation, trade balance, and unemployment in this country? This is definitely not a good news to this country. And let me first reflect the fact that oil is normally regarded as an input item. So when the input costs are increasing, it's just going to make your country's SRAS shift to the left, causing cost push inflation. And in terms of trade balance, you have to pay more to buy the same amount of oil. So the trade balance is going to get worse. Also, in terms of unemployment, this is going to increase as well because the worse performance of the business is going to affect unemployment as well. So that's why the answer is C. Question 25. What would reduce the effectiveness of a supply-side stimulus to the economy? You're trying to conduct some supply-side stimulus, such as market-based or interventionist supply-side policies to make your country to be more productive and efficient. However, some would reduce such effect. What will be the case amongst the given options? A, imposition of maximum hours. I think this has to be the answer, since if you make a regulation of setting maximum hours of working, then the labor market is going to be more rigid, which is going to decrease the business incentives and productivity. So that's the answer. The rest of the things are all good for boosting production and efficiency of the country. So that's why A has to be the answer. 26. A multinational company shifts its manufacturing capacity to a developing country. What is likely to be the short-run effect of this in the developing country? I believe short-run is the key word in this question, so let's have a look. Employment definitely increases because there is a new factory operating in your country, then the firm has to immediately hire people to run the factory. That's why employment will increase. And for investment, yes, too. The fact that they are building new factory means that they are going to invest in capital, so it will increase. But short-run balance of payments on current account improving. This one is going to take some time according to Marshall and Leonard condition on Jacobs, because according to the PED of import and export, this one is not going to quickly be reflected. So that's why the answer has to be D. Question 27. To indicate the changing income distribution, the Kuznets curve plots gross domestic product per capita against an economic variable X. What is variable X? This is so obvious question. Since I need to know income distribution and using my GDP, how should I know my income distribution? What variable do I need to know additionally? Then I need to know what's going on in my income level. So that's why the answer has to be B. Question 28. Economists define the unemployed as being those who are not in work but are actively seeking work. Other groups of people in the population of working age include those classed as inactive or self-employed. Which groups of people are included as part of a country's labor force? You are unemployed, then you are still in the labor force. But if you're inactive, no. If you're self-employed, but you're still working, then yes. That's why the answer is B. Question 29. The table shows some United Nations population statistics for 2010 and estimate for 2015. Which relationship can be confirmed from the table? A, the least developed regions have the largest urban population. No. B, the more developed regions have the lowest growth rate of urbanization between 2010 and 2015. In terms of the growth rate of urbanization, then it's true. Yes. Because they're already urbanized largely, you know. Last question. The diagram shows a Lorentz curve with two areas, X and Y, identified. How is the corresponding Gini coefficient calculated? It's a pretty simple question. We already know the formula, so X divided by X plus Y. So that's why answer has to be A. All right, this is the end of paper 3 problem solving session. Thank you so much for watching this thus far. I will see you with a new video anytime soon. Thank you. Bye.